Hey guys, today I'm going to be doing my out-of-box review for the HG Iron-Blooded Orphans Graze Ein. Now this is the last HG kit that we've got out of Season 1. We do, of course, still have the Astaroth coming, but considering that's from a manga side story, I'm not going to count that one. This is the last kit that we're getting in the HG Iron-Blooded Orphans line out of Season 1. Season 2 is coming up later on this year, and I'm sure we're going to have a boatload of new HGs coming at that time. But I gotta say, to go out on this note was definitely pretty impressive. This is a very large high grade. As you guys know, if you've watched the series or if you've seen anything about this model already, then you know that it's going to be very, very large. It's definitely much larger than all the other different versions of the Graze and most high grades in general. This is really more close to the scale of a smaller 1/100 scale, so like the Master Grade Wing or Master Grade Seed kits, or 1/100 scale Wing or Seed kits, which tend to be a little bit smaller. Victory as well. Those smaller scale Gundams in 1/100 scale would be very close in size to this, so I'll do some comparisons for you here in a little bit. But just want to say a big thank you to MindFenix Hobby Store again for sending me this kit to share with you guys. Just again, if you guys are living in Australia, please do check them out and support them. So they're very helpful to me here in providing a lot of content to share with you guys. So this kit is cool. I mean, it is, what are we up to now? This is the 6th HG Graze variation, but of course this one is going to feel a lot different. There are some parts of the original Graze used in there, mostly in the torso and a couple parts in the legs, and that's really going to be just about it. I mean, a lot of the kit does assemble very similarly, and a lot of the armor parts, especially like on the legs, do look very similar, but they are new. So I mean, it doesn't really feel like I'm building another Graze, but there are some aspects that are familiar, so it's not like too repetitive. And obviously just the look of this one is going to be different enough. I think that it's definitely going to have its own sort of unique style here. So yeah, for the color scheme, we've just got the gray for everything inside, and then the black and the sort of very dark muted navy blue around for like the main color there. So definitely giving this guy a paint job, and I think even taking that dark blue and even going a little bit darker with it, because right now it's sort of like a pale navy blue. I don't really know how to describe it correctly, but that could go definitely even darker, and it would add to this very dark tone of this Gundam. And again, I don't really want to talk too much about the story. I mean, it's not really spoilers. I'm sure everyone's seen it by now, but just, I don't know, you guys know what happened with this in the story, so there's not really too much need to go into that. As for the stickers for this kit, again, if you saw the unboxing, they're really pretty much the same as any other Graze kit. We have the 3 yellow ones inside on the torso frame of the torso, and then we have the 2 different ones for the eyes, yellow on the outer main rectangular camera, and then the red for the sensor inside the head. The head is definitely pretty interesting. Definitely the most interesting head out of all the Graze kits, I think. So we'll take a look at that here as well in just a moment. Why don't we just go ahead and take a closer look right now. This does also have some really cool weapons and accessories too, so we'll take a look at all of that. So for the head, you can see here, the first thing about the head though is unfortunately the articulation is very, very limited just due to the design of the head. And this part is just much larger on here. It's like the actual torso frame is the same as the regular Graze, so if you think about that, it's a very small torso frame inside of there, but the armor pieces are much larger. So like these here on the side and this one here on the back are very similar to what go on the normal Graze, but they're just much larger in this case. So for the head, it's going to be pretty limited. We get some side to side, but then like turning it is going to be like, that's about the limit of how far you can turn it to the side. Then to open it up, you just press this part down and it opens up to that red eye inside there. And then we fold these parts forward like that, and then that gives us our sort of berserk mode kind of head. I don't really know what you'd call that, but that is that thing there anyway. And then here in the chest we're going to have a little bit of articulation here at the base of the shoulder, and then the actual arm is just connected on a ball joint there. The shoulder, this shoulder part itself will move up and down, and that's for dropping this down to bring out the turret. I'll show you that in a moment. And then the arm itself is going to rotate here. These very large joints here, the way those are designed, very large. They seem very strong, I guess. So that's going to go up to about there, is really going to be about the limit, but of course we can rotate the arm and then bend at the elbow. The bend at the elbow is going to give you more than 90 degrees, but not too much, just about to there. And as you can see, we have this bend here at in the middle of the forearm as well. So that's so you can like bring that forward. And then this pile driver piece, this is just loose in there. There's nothing that really, it's just held in there by friction. And as you can see, you can just go without this if you just want to have just this arm like that. You can just take this whole part off, or you can have it connected onto there. It's best not to hold up the entire kit by that part because then it will fall off. But anyway, so this, yeah, it's just gonna slide through there, so you can just put it basically at whatever position you want. The instruction manual tells you to put it right about here, like that. So that way when it's up, the back part doesn't run into the back of this arm joint there. Then the wrist, of course, is just on a ball joint. The hands are interesting. They're definitely much larger. The inside is going to be very hollow, but it's including a peg hole there for holding the giant axes. The waist is also going to be very similar. It's just going to have that same kind of accordion movement there at the articulation up there, and then the ball joint here at the waist. I've heard some people already complaining about this ball joint being kind of loose. I can imagine that. It hasn't been too much of a problem for me yet, but I can definitely see why that would be a problem. It does seem like not the tightest or strongest connection there. Here on the backpack, we have these two just things that are connected. I think you could separate them, but then you'd have to make a way for them to fit in there. If you separated them, they would, I think, not stay in here. They would just kind of fall out because they're just held in there by each other. So you'd have to do a little bit of modification if you wanted to have them separate, but these parts here move, which will, again, hold the axes. The axes peg into these holes, but then they can sort of be held by these parts here as well. This whole thing will move up and down. The skirt armor, of course, it doesn't have any side skirts. It's just the back skirt wraps around to the side. And then the front skirt armor is one piece, but you can separate it just by clipping it in the middle to have separately articulated front skirts. The legs are going to be very similar to the original Graze. They're just going to rotate there at the top. You're going to have a double joint in the knee without pulling off the front armor there. So you can get a very full bend here at the knee. So a really nice bend there. And legs, of course, are just super, super long. And then here at the ankle, we kind of have like 2 points of ankle articulation. One is like up in here, and the other one down here at the bottom. So that's like the foot is going to be able to move by its own there. And then we have a little bit of articulation here at the top of the ankle as well. This front part, this front ankle armor, the whole thing's just kind of falling apart. Excuse that. It's a pretty, just because of its size, it's pretty heavy. So here you can see it fell apart there at the waist because it's just kind of like leaning back and fell out. So just be a little bit careful about that. This ankle armor piece here on the front does move a little bit. And yeah, so you guys, stuff's falling apart quite a bit here, but I wouldn't worry too much about that. That's just because I'm fumbling around with it in front of the camera. This part here on the back of the leg does move back as well to expose that sort of thruster in there. Makes the leg very skinny inside there. And that is pretty much it for the articulation. That foot is just all one piece, so that's not going to, the individual toes are not going to move at all. Some nice detail up underneath there though. But that is just set into that position like so. Now while we're at the feet, here are two of the accessories that we get. Closed versions of the feet to have the drill foot attack that it did as seen in the anime. You just pull off the one foot and stick on the other foot like so. That's pretty cool. For the hands, we have some options here as well. We have these closed fists, which from the top they look kind of like very weird closed fists, like it's not really a fist, like it's some sort of like karate fist bump or something, also like this sort of thing. Not really like a closed fist, but that is kind of what that's supposed to be, I guess, anyway. And we have one of those for the left and right. So it's cool that we finally get some option hands. Sucks that they're hollow on one side, and sucks that they're just kind of weirdly shaped, but at least we did get some options. Then we have these two drop-down turret guns that are going to come out of the shoulders. So you just drop the shoulder down, and then this just plugs in up inside of there, like so, and you've got that gun there. That was pretty cool in the anime. I think this, in the model form, it's a little bit larger than it was in the anime. I think in the anime it was definitely a little bit smaller, but that's all good. And then finally, we have the two axes. Now, again, when we first were seeing promo images of these, I thought these were the same axes as the Graze, but of course now we know they're definitely different. These are definitely much larger. For comparison, here is a standard Graze axe, and then here is the axe of the Graze Ein. So it's much, much larger there. As you can see, the standard axe is like half the size. Definitely going to be much different. And so again, these axes are just going to plug onto the backpack, like so. So you can have the two of them mounted there on the back. Then if you want to hold them in the hands, they have a mounting peg there on the left and right side. So with the two of them, you can put them either on either or side there. They have this peg. This is the peg for mounting it into the backpack, but I wonder if you can use that. I don't really know why you would, but it doesn't really fit into the hand. The peg is slightly different size, but here's just the regular peg, how that's supposed to fit into the hand. Like so, no problem holding that. It does look a little bit weird though, because the hand is, that gap there in the hand is much larger than this handle, so it looks like it's not really holding it very tightly. But again, some just minor complaints to make about this, I guess. Now here is of course what you all wanted to see, right? That's why you came to this review. You just wanted to see this shot of all the different versions of the Graze put together. Actually, I don't know, maybe some of you would have known that I would have done that, or maybe not, but it was inevitable. I think I've done this for every new Graze that we've got, done a shot of all the Grazes so far. This one I contemplated, I thought, I really don't want to be bothered putting all those things, all those Grazes together, trying to fit them all onto this display base. Well, I've got them to barely fit on there. One more Graze, and they're not going to be able to fit on there, so it's lucky that this is the end of Season 1, so that Season 2 I can start off with a fresh start, and won't have to try to cram so many of them onto my display base here. But anyway, we've got the original Graze, the Schwalbe Graze, the Graze Kai, the Graze Kai 2, aka Ryuseigo, the Kartas Ritter Graze Ritter, and finally the Graze Ein, just towering over them. Doesn't even seem like it's the same mobile suit, but I think you still can see the similarities there, especially on the head. Of course, the head, the top of the head is going to be a very iconic shape there for all of the Graze, except for the Graze Kai, of course, but still is similar in that look. And again, crazy to think that they're all sharing the same torso, that the Graze Ein, despite it being so much larger, is still using the same torso as the rest of them. But it's so much larger, the arms and legs are just built up so much. So it's pretty cool. Alright, now this drill kicking pose here, it looks a little bit silly to be honest, but I really just wanted to see if it could do it because it showed it here in the manual doing this pose, and I wanted to see if it could really, I mean, I know the design of those feet is really quite ingenious because it's really going to help the model kit stand really well, but I just wanted to see just how well it could stand, test its balance a little bit, see how well it could do this pose, and even on this rotating base, it's not falling over, so I think it's doing pretty well. Of course, I don't know how well, I don't know how good the pose really looks. It's, from the right angle, I think it looks okay, but maybe not in 360 degrees. But one thing that I have found difficult about this pose, though really the only thing, is that you really want to have the leg kind of out more to the side rather than out to the front. But because of the design of the skirt armor, the back skirt, how it wraps around to the side, it kind of blocks the leg from going out to the side as much as you'd want. So that's kind of a little bit of an issue. I think you're going to want the legs to be have a wide range of movement because you have these really long legs, and they're definitely a big part of its melee sort of attack style, especially with those feet. So you're going to want to have them with having a full range of motion, and to have that blocked to the side by that armor is just a little bit unfortunate. And then also, just one thing, now that I get up on an action base, I thought, oh, well, because of the size of it, I wonder if it's going to be okay on a regular 1/144 scale action base, because, you know, maybe you have an action base, whether it be one like this from Kotobukiya, or something from Bandai, the Action Base 2, something that you normally use for HG kits, which are normal 1/144 scale, because this one's larger. Maybe you're worried about that being an issue. It's larger, but it's really not that heavy. Any regular 1/144 scale base should be able to hold it. The size may be an issue. I don't know, depending how high you want the kit up off the ground. Of course, a 1/144 scale kit isn't going to have as much vertical reach. 1/144 scale base, like an Action Base 2, for example, is not going to have as much vertical reach as an Action Base 1. So I think if you wanted to have this up higher up off the ground, for a normal 1/144 scale kit, an Action Base 2 would probably give you enough. But for this, you know, just because of how long the legs are and everything, probably going to want to use an Action Base 1 for it, but it's not because of the weight, so it just depends on the pose you want to do. So when you've got it all loaded up here, yeah, it's going to be impressive with those turrets in the arms. I mean, to be honest, the turrets in the shoulder thing is a little bit silly. I don't know. I mean, it totally makes sense, but it just seems kind of weird. I don't know. From when we first started seeing like images of this kit, or not images, but some like production prototypes of this kit, it was pretty obvious that there was going to be some gimmick built into the shoulders. We just didn't really know what. After the surprise of the Graze arms built into the Gushan Rebake backpack, and then, you know, we were seeing prototypes of this right around that same time, and it was kind of obvious. But the fact that this is what that surprise was, not really the coolest surprise, but I don't know, you know, it's not bad. It should make sense that the mobile suit should have some sort of like projectile weapon, seeing as how it doesn't use any rifle or anything, but I don't know, maybe it could shoot out the pile driver out of its arm or something. I guess it could probably do that if you wanted it to. So, I don't know, that's just my 2 cents maybe about those turrets anyway. So that's pretty much going to wrap up the most I really have to say about this kit. As you can tell, I didn't really have a whole lot to say, as the majority of this review has pretty much just been rambling about nothing really about this kit. It's a really cool kit. It's really interesting. It's very big. It has some really cool gimmicks with its weapons and accessories. In terms of things that need fixing with it, all of the there's pretty much no seams on it really to speak of that really need to be fixed, so that's not really a problem. All of the nubs, there's a few that are kind of not that great, but overall there's really not any issues that I could really point out with this kit that really need to be fixing. There's a few hollow spaces, I guess, is one thing, like in the hands and the backpack, the underside of those kind of parts that hold the axes in the backpack, they're hollow underneath, but really probably no one's ever really going to notice that, but I don't know. So that would probably be like the only thing I could really point out as a negative about this kit, is some of the hollow spaces. But I think that was just Bandai's way to cut costs by making kit that needs to be very large, but they want to keep the price down as much as possible. And I think they've built a lot of gimmicks into this, and like they've kept it at a low price, and then still like been able to give it a lot of really cool stuff. So definitely worth it. I think 1,400 yen for the price tag for this is definitely worth it. The only thing I can imagine that this really could have come with to make it any better is a stand, and we rarely ever get those, so that's really not anything too much to complain about. So let me know what you guys think down below. Did you get this kit? Are you planning on getting it? How many Graze kits do you guys have? 1, 2, 3, 4? Do you already have a few and you don't want to get any more, but this one looks cool, so you're thinking about getting another one? Let me know. Otherwise, if you guys have any other questions, just leave those down below as well. Or I'll see you guys in the next review or video, whatever it's going to be. See you guys then. Bye-bye.